Howdy folks. So I was recently asked by one of our subscribers about how I plan to survive in the wilderness for an extended period of time if an emergency happens and all I have is my adventure kit. Well, that's a great question. I thought today we'd dig into that a little bit. So in this hypothetical situation, we're out in the backcountry on an afternoon hike and the worst possible thing happens. We get injured or we get trapped and we're gonna have to spend one, maybe even 2 nights out in the wilderness. So what do we do? So there's 3 main things that you're gonna have to think about if you have an unscheduled backcountry night. Water, shelter, and food, and in that order. When you're looking for water, you're gonna wanna listen for the sounds of a river or a creek in the background. Where I hike, we're amazingly fortunate that there is water everywhere, and you can hear a creek around every corner. So when you locate your water source, you're gonna fill up as much as you can carry because you don't know when you're gonna run into another water source. Now, I always have my Sawyer squeeze with me, which is a great way to filter, but in the event that the Sawyer fails, I also carry these little tablets with me as well. And it's just simple. You put in 2 of these little tablets into a quart of water, shake it up, 5 minutes later the water is safe to drink. So now that we've secured our water supply for the night, we need to think about a shelter. And the best place to find shelter is going to be under natural cover. If you're out in an exposed area, the winds and the weather are going to affect you more. So get under the tree line if possible. If you don't have any trees around, find some rocks that you can hide near. Okay, so an area like this is perfect. If you can find a fallen tree with a lot of moss on the ground and branches to work with, this is going to be your ideal campsite for the night. It might not be the most comfortable, but it is going to be the warmest. To be clear, if you're in an emergency situation, principles and practices of leave no trace come second to your safety. If you need to, cut tree branches to build your shelter. Now, obviously for today's exercise, I'm not in a real emergency, so I'm not cutting any tree branches. I'm only using windfall and dead branches. But in an emergency situation, do what you need to do to stay safe and survive. So it might not seem like much, but it's amazing what natural coverage will do to protect you from the weather. And I don't mean just rain. I mean the cold too. Tree branches have a natural insulation, which are going to help keep you warm on a colder night. Now, if you're in an area where you don't have the ability to build a natural shelter, that's why we have our emergency poncho. Now, these emergency blankets are pretty awesome. The material actually helps radiate your body heat, and it will help you retain up to 90% of your natural body heat just by wrapping it around you. But if we stop thinking of it as an emergency blanket and think of it as what it really is, and that's a super lightweight tarp, then the possibilities are endless on what we can do. Probably the simplest configuration is going to be a basic lean-to style. What I'm using here is I found another fallen tree, and then taking advantage of rocks and twigs and sticks, I secured the tarp to the top of the tree, far enough over that if it rains, the rain will cascade off the backside. And then I extended the bottom out, and using more rocks and sticks, I secured the bottom along the ground. This is going to create a nice little pocket for us to slide into, bundle up in our gear, and sleep warm and safe for the night. In the bottom of my food bag, I always have 50 feet of micro cordage and a little mini carabiner. This is typically used to hang my food overnight if I'm in bear country, but it can also be used for your shelter. You can utilize the micro cordage to create a basic ridge line as low to the ground as you can. I recommend finding trees that are between 5, 10, or 15 feet apart. Don't go too far apart or else you're gonna find that you're gonna put a little more strain on that micro cordage than you need. Once you've built your good solid ridge line, then you're gonna throw the tarp over the top, pin down all 4 corners with some rocks or sticks, and you've created yourself a nice little tent that you can crawl into. And again, stay safe and stay warm throughout the night. We've got our water and our shelter. So let's briefly talk about food. It's always a good idea to have a couple of protein bars or granola bars packed in the bottom of your food bag. Those are your great emergency supply, just in case you don't have quite enough food for whatever your adventure is. But in all reality, food is going to be your lowest priority. We can go 3, 4, maybe even 5 days without eating before you have any harmful side effects. And quite honestly, if you're an American, you've probably got an extra 5 or 10 days worth of food that you're packing on you already. So focus on your water and your shelter as your emergency supplies. I hope this was helpful and informative. And if you want more information on what's in the adventure kit, I'll leave a link for the detailed loadout right here. If you want more trail tips and tricks, that'll be right over here. So until next time, folks, see you out there on the trail soon. Let's go for a walk.